London. The city of London was founded by the Romans and their rule extended for 43 AD to the 5th century AD. When the empire fell, during the 3rd century, Londinium, the name given to the town by Romans, had a population of 50,000 mainly due to the influence of its major port. In 1843, London really was very different from any other city. It was much bigger than any other city, and it was the capital of the most industrialized nation in the world. It was already in the city with a long history, of course. London had become the British capital in the Roman times, but since then, it had been built and destroyed and rebuilt so many times that there are few traces left of the capital city of the Roman Britain, except deep below the ground. Today, the oldest building in the London include the Tower of London and Westminster Abbey, which is the most 1,000 years old. Government and politics. London is the home of the government of the United Kingdom, which is located around the Houses of Parliament in the Westminster. London is represented in the National Parliament by 74 members of Parliament, short of MPs, who correspond to local parliamentary constituencies. The city has its own governance and boundaries, giving it the status of the only completely autonomous local authority in London. The administration of London takes place in two tiers, a citywide, strategic tier, and the local tier. Citywide administration is coordinated by the Greater London Authority. The Greater London Authority consists of two elected parts, the Mayor London, who has executive powers, and the London Assembly, who has scrutinized the mayor's decision and can accept or reject his budget proposal each year. The Great London was set up in 2000 to replace the similar Greater London Council, which has been abolished in 1986. The 33 local authorities are the Council of the 32 London boroughs and the City of London Corporation. They are responsible for local services, not overseen by the Greater London Authority, such as local planning, schools, social services, local roads, and refuse collection. Economy. London is the largest center of the finance in the world. It has 6th largest city economy in the world, after Tokyo, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Paris. London generates approximately 20% of the UK GDP, or $446 million in 2005, while the economy of the London metropolitan area, the largest in Europe, generates approximately 30% of the UK GDP, or an estimated of $669 billion in 2005 per capita. GDP was $72,500 that year. Financial and business services sector accounts 85% of London banking sector, for about 20% of the total international bank lending. London has the ones of the greatest international insurance markets, the world's largest center in trading overseas equities, the largest foreign exchange markets, the one of the biggest financial derivatives market, the greatest concentration of international bond dealers, and major market of transaction in commodities. London has the vast range of legal, accountancy, management, property, computer, and advertising consultancy services. Demographics. The city of the 32 boroughs had estimated of 7,517,700 inhabitants of the mid-2005, making London the second most populous city in the Europe behind Moscow, which is 10,415,400 inhabitants and the most populous in the European Union. London's continuous urban area extends beyond the borders of the Greater London and it was home of 8,278,251 people in 2001, while its wider metropolitan area has the population between 12 and 14 million, depending on the definition of that area. Society and culture. London is too diverse to be characterized by the particular architectural style. It is, however, mainly brick built, most commonly the yellow London stock breed or warm orange-red variety often decorated with carvings and white plaster moldings. Some areas of the city, particularly those west of the center, are characterized by the white stucco or whitewash building. Few structures differentiate the Great Fire of 1666, except for the few traced Roman remains, the Tower of London, and a few scattered Tudor survivors in the city. A major of buildings in London date from Edwardian and Victorian periods. London skyscrapers such as notable Jerkin, Tower 42, and One Canada Square are usually found in the two financial districts, City of London and Canary Wharf. The monument in the City of London provides view of the surrounding while commemorating the Great Fire of London, which is originated by nearby